It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
It's the Pete Sousa Show, and I'm not Pete Sousa, but you should stick around anyway, okay? We got Pete Sousa coming up here in just a little bit. He's going to interview former Michigan quarterback, NFL wide receiver, Devin Gardner. We're going to talk some Big 12 football. We got that coming up for you. I did want to jump on here to open today's show to provide you with some Baylor athletics updates and insight. By the way, I'm just going to kind of use this platform to tell you everything I know, and I know more than I probably should, being who I am, about what's going on behind the scenes at Baylor with the athletic department, with the football program, etc. And then I would just encourage you, if you're watching this back, you're a Baylor fan, please bear with me. We'll be live Sunday evening, legend Terrence Ganaway and myself. We will go live Sunday at 5 o'clock. You can find that show on YouTube, and we will really break down what we're thinking in terms of this AD and potential head coaching search. But here's the news, right? Yesterday afternoon, Mack Rhoades officially resigns from his post as athletic director at Baylor University. By the way, a resignation in which Mack wrote a letter. I'm not going to read it to you. You can look it up and read it if you like. Mack writes a letter just speaking glowingly about his time and Baylor's future and Baylor's special place as an institution of higher learning. Linda Livingstone replies in kind, writing a letter about Mack's resignation and touting the accomplishments in the athletic department in the 9 years of which Mack was leading. This clearly signals to you something, right? Mack Rhoades wants to keep his private business private. Frankly, who can blame him? And Mack Rhoades and the team at Baylor were able to come to some kind of buyout where the sides are parting peaceably. That's the kind of the biggest signal you should see in this messaging. This had the potential to get a little legal ugly if Baylor was going to have to fire for cause. But Mack knows that he wasn't going to keep this job, and it looks better for him and his future prospects to leave graciously, and Baylor returning the favor. We talked about this on the Matt Mosley show yesterday. I'll just simply say Mack's legacy is going to be complicated. There's a different place to have a discussion about what you do in your personal life off the field, how it should affect your career in sports, in administration, the difference between perhaps having that kind of role at a Christian institution versus a state institution. All of these conversations, maybe you can have on the bar stool with your friends this weekend. This is not the place for that conversation. Baylor had some very high highs under Mack Rhoades. Baylor has experienced some trouble under Mack Rhoades, and not just recently, but kind of a declining football program. I saw a note on X. This graduating class of 2026 is the first Baylor graduating class since 2010 that will not experience a 10-win football season. And tells you something about the arrow of the trajectory of the program. And so Mack Rhoades out at Baylor. It happened quickly. It is good that it happened quickly, and it is good that it happened quickly because it now opens the door for Baylor to go full speed ahead on this search for its new AD. I do have some inside sourced information on this that I was receiving as early as this past weekend. When Mack Rhoades took his leave last week, midweek last week, it's been about a week and a half, about 9 days ago, Baylor knew immediately, because of the nature of the circumstance in which Mack took his leave, they were going to need to find a new AD. It's not like Mack resigned yesterday and now we're starting a search. Perhaps officially, legally, etc., optics. That's what's happening today, is we've started the AD search. Guys, this search started over the weekend. This search, don't kid yourself. Linda Livingstone, Board of Regents, decision makers at Baylor were vetting candidates and under the table having conversations about this last weekend. And that's good. They should be, because you're going to be having a conversation about retaining or not retaining your head football coach in 8 days. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Baylor knows the urgency and the speed with which they need to make this hire. They also know this might be the most important AD hire they've ever made. Certainly, you could argue that was actually the hire of Mack Rhoades 9 years ago in the wake of the scandal with the football program then. And certainly it was an important hire. Here's why this one might be the most important ever. College football is dramatically different than it was when Mack Rhoades was hired 9 years ago. And it is changing rapidly, year over year. NIL, conference alignment, how the playoff works. All of these things are evolving and are not changing or are changing rapidly and are not settling, right? College football may never be a constant in terms of money, playoff, conference until 5-10 years from now, if ever. The next AD at Baylor needs to be capable of a few things. Most importantly, hiring a football coach who can get Baylor football back towards the upper echelon of the Big 12. That's where Baylor belongs. That's where Baylor for about 15 years has most consistently been. And under Dave Aranda, Baylor has declined. Baylor needs to get back there. The next AD knows that. By the way, I have it from multiple sources. Baylor is not interested in an AD that wants to retain Dave Aranda. Doesn't mean that there's not some way in which it happens. Lord knows it's going to be chaotic if Baylor wins these next two games and finishes 7-5, goes to a bowl game. That is really, really going to complicate this, okay? But as of now, the thinking at Baylor is new AD, new football coach, hit the reset button. That has been the mindset since Mack Rhoades took a leave, and that should excite Baylor fans. Here's the other thing I know. There are both internal and external candidates for this role. I'm told as recently as this morning, there are multiple internal candidates for this role. Some which you know, and some which you are probably not aware of. Multiple people who are already inside Baylor want this job. I do not have enough information to know if any of them would excel at this job. I will simply say, I think that would be underwhelming. Doesn't mean it would be a wrong hire. It might be underwhelming, regardless of who that internal candidate is or how much you like them. By the way, I like all of them as people and in their current role. I don't know if any of them is ready to be the AD at Baylor. The external candidates have been widely reported. I will go ahead and repeat the names that have been widely reported because this is not inside info from me. The three names everyone knows who are kind of at the top of the pack are Jared Mosley at North Texas, Ren Baker at West Virginia, and Jeremiah Dickey at Boise State. I know as recently as midweek, Dickey had not yet had a conversation with Baylor. Now, again, Mack Rhoades just resigned yesterday afternoon. They could have called Jeremiah Dickey last night. I know Jeremiah Dickey would consider taking the job. I am also under the impression, based on multiple people I've spoken with inside the athletic department and with connections to the Board of Regents, there is another candidate Baylor would prefer. That candidate would like to be at Baylor, and it is simply a matter of coming to terms with that candidate to get him here as early as next week, maybe even early next week. Nearly every source I've spoken to, nearly every single one, believes that Baylor will have a new AD in place before the Houston game. Because if Baylor loses to Arizona and Baylor loses to Houston at home to close out the season, finishing 5-7, there's not a lot of tension or disappointment or surprise Disappointment might be the right word or wrong word. People will be disappointed, but there won't be any surprise or tension for a new AD to walk in and remove the current football staff. The candidate who I'm told would be Baylor's preference is already linked to a football coach that you would love to be the head coach at Baylor. I am very optimistic based on everything I've heard from connections to the athletic building, to the Board of Regents. Baylor has a couple of really good options here. Again, some whose names we know, some whose names are not publicly known. And if they get one of their top 2 or 3 candidates, it's going to be a good day for Baylor. And Baylor's going to be able to get a good head football coach. And I think even more interesting than this athletic director thing are the names. And this is so funny about being in my seat because I'm not traditional media. I'm more of a fan. I do have a podcast. I do work for Rogue Media. But I have had lots of just interesting people reach out and say, Scotty, here's what I know. And there's a lot of people that say that and they don't know. And then there's some people that reach out and say things like that, and they actually have connections. And based on what I've heard, I would like to quickly run through what I've heard about the potential for Baylor's next head football coach. Again, none of the names I'm about to present are surprising. But what I'm here to report today is the guys that want to be at Baylor. I've said for 2 months, Baylor is an attractive place to be a head football coach for a lot of people. It is not the ideal destination for everybody. It does not have the NIL or athletic department budget of some bigger state schools or some more prestigious football schools. The Christian university thing is going to be a hindrance to some guys that don't want to perhaps navigate that. The history of the football program with scandal and with up and down is not something all coaches want to navigate. However, there are several things that are attractive about Baylor to a certain kind of candidate. And as much inside info as I've received about ADs, I've received far more information from the most random people who know, who have connections. And they'll tell me, here's who told me this, here's what I heard, here's who I talked to. One of these coaches, I won't say who, is a direct source to the person that talked to me, one of these candidates, okay? Here are the people who see Baylor as a great destination for themselves as a head football coach. And I'm going to list them in likelihood that I think they will be at Baylor as early as December, and certainly by January. Number 1, Eric Morris. From what I'm told, Eric Morris sees Baylor as preferable to Oklahoma State, where he is also linked as a candidate for the head coach. Morris would like to stay in state. Morris is a guy who values the Christian kind of mission fit thing at Baylor. Morris is a guy who would really like to be at Baylor and could see himself at Baylor for a long time. Now do the math. We already know, it's been publicly stated, Scotty's not breaking any news, that UNT athletic director Jared Mosley is a candidate for this open AD job. I think the easiest, least resistant path to success for the football program immediately would be if Baylor can get Jared Mosley and Eric Morris to come from North Texas. There are some things that complicate that. North Texas is fighting for a playoff spot. Like, don't kid yourselves. If Tulane loses, North Texas could be in the playoff. If North Texas wins the American Championship, regardless of what the playoff rankings are right now, they very likely could be in the college football playoff. That could obviously complicate the path to get Mosley and Morris to Baylor. But I've been told by multiple people, Eric Morris would prefer the Baylor job to the Oklahoma State job and is very interested in staying in state, likes the mission fit. Okay. Candidate number 2, and you've heard this name on all the boards lately. It's been buzzing on X lately. I'm here to tell you there is fire to the smoke. Lincoln Riley is at least intrigued by the possibility at being at Baylor. I am not saying he is like jumping at the gun to be the next head coach at Baylor. Everybody knows the national narrative of going from Oklahoma to USC to Baylor would be odd, to say the least. Here's what I know, and I've heard from multiple people this is true. Lincoln Riley and his family, which might be the more important piece to this, don't feel like they fit in Southern California. It's not home. It is different culturally. And it's not like Lincoln's time at USC has just been a rip-roaring success. It is true that Lincoln Riley and his family see Texas, Oklahoma, and kind of this South Central, Southwestern region as home. That is true. It is also true Lincoln Riley wants to kind of rehabilitate his image as a guy who can not only get into the college football playoff, but win the college football playoff. Win in the college football playoff, I should say. And it is true that a Lincoln Riley-led Baylor team would have a much easier path. Let's just be honest. I'm not saying the Big 12 is easy, especially with the way Tech is trending. BYU, those are outstanding programs. Those aren't one-hit wonders. They're going to be up there next year. Arizona State, if they keep Kenny Dillingham, is going to remain towards the top of this conference. Utah is getting right. I'm not saying this conference is easy to win. But can we just be honest and say that Baylor winning the Big 12 with Lincoln Riley at the helm is probably a more probable college football playoff path than winning the Big 10 at USC, right? It's also it's certainly an easier path than coaching in the SEC, where I'm sure if Lincoln wanted to talk to Auburn, certainly Arkansas, he could have his pick of those jobs as well. I think Lincoln Riley wants to recruit Texas again. I think he wants to coach in a place that can field a high-powered offense again, which, of course, Baylor historically can. Lincoln Riley is a real candidate for this job. I do not know if he'll take it. He would absolutely take the phone call, do the interview, fly out here, have the conversation. I've been told by multiple people he would. Here's the candidate where I might be breaking some news. And I've been holding on to this information for about a month. And I might have even mentioned it on this show a month ago, like in passing. John Sumrall at Tulane would love the opportunity to interview at Baylor. Again, I'm not saying he would take the job. If LSU offers, if Florida offers, he might take one of those jobs. And frankly, who could blame him? He's going to be a hot commodity. However, he, maybe more than these other two, maybe around like kind of this Eric Morris thing, John Sumrall loves the ideal mission of Baylor. He loves the idea of being at a Christian university. He loves the idea of being long-term, winning some championships at a Christian school. He is a passionate FCA guy, pretty loud about his faith inside of Tulane, as loud as he can be. He would love the opportunity to be at Baylor. He is also someone who very much holds Grant Taff as one of his coaching heroes. I have that on really good inside information, pretty direct from the source. Again, not sitting here saying he's going to get an interview, not saying he's candidate A, but he would like to interview for this job if it comes open. I think he would consider taking this job over a lot of others if he's given the opportunity. By the way, the thing I love about these three candidates, all three of these guys' teams are in the playoff picture today. We're in late November. All three of these guys have their current school in the playoff conversation, and they are all at least interested in interviewing, if not very intent on trying to get the Baylor job. This is great news for Baylor fans. This is part of why that AD hire is so important. I see you, Bear the Truth, asked, who would be the best athletic director if Lincoln Riley was to be the coach? I do not know. I think the question is almost reverse to that. I think the question is, which AD wants to hire Lincoln Riley versus which AD would be more likely to hire Morris, Sumrall, or one of these other candidates I'm going to present here. I've got 3 more. I think these are the top 3 candidates. All 3 see Baylor as a good job. That's great news for Baylor. If you get any one of these 3, it's a home run. You're probably winning 8 to 9 games immediately, and you're competing for the Big 12 very quickly, in my opinion, if you can get one of these 3 guys. All 3 are going to bring a way more dynamic offense than what we've seen over the last 8-9 years at Baylor. They're going to get great recruits. I think all 3 of these guys could keep most of this 2026 recruiting class that's already in place. These would all be home run hires, in my opinion. The next 3, I do not know if they would be home run hires, but they are candidates. Let's not kid ourselves. They are candidates for this job. G.J. Kinney is absolutely a candidate for this job. It's been a rough season at Texas State. His stock from 2 months ago has dropped dramatically. But G.J. Kinney, it is pretty well known amongst many people. I'm not breaking news here. G.J. Kinney sees Baylor as a great destination job for himself and a fit. The 2 questions with G.J. Kinney are, can he lead a consistently good program? Because Texas State has dipped this year after 2 8-win seasons. And would he be almost like Art Briles, but to the nth degree, as far as you'd probably have a top 5 offense in America if you had G.J. Kinney as your head coach, but you'd probably have a bottom 5 defense in America if you hired G.J. Kinney as your head coach, because that's kind of how Texas State's been for 3 years now. Okay? But don't kid yourselves. Depending on the AD hire, G.J. Kinney's name will be considered. He will probably be interviewed. I do not think he is candidate A for this job, but I think he is a legitimate candidate. And most importantly, again, this is a 4th guy who wants this job. I think these 3 guys I named first are very interested in this job. I think G.J. Kinney wants this job. And by the way, me as a Baylor fan, I like candidates who want this job. Okay, 5th candidate, Spencer Danielson. Scotty B called it. What about Spencer Danielson? He said just a couple minutes ago. Yes, Spencer Danielson is a candidate. Here's what I'll say about Danielson. I do not believe Spencer Danielson will be a candidate for every AD. I think he's definitely a candidate if Jeremiah Dickey comes to Baylor. Just like if Jared Mosley comes to Baylor, Eric Morris is going to be immediately the odds-on favorite to be the next head coach. If Jeremiah Dickey is the next AD at Baylor, and again, I'm not convinced he will be. I'm not convinced he'd be the best. He might have gotten a phone call last night. He might get a phone call today. I think he would take the conversation, have the interview, consider the job. If it's him, obviously Spencer Danielson becomes a very likely candidate. Here's what makes Spencer Danielson different than these 4 I named. These 4 I named already have very strong ties in Texas and history in Texas. Danielson does not. That does not mean he can't come succeed. Look at Matt Rule, right? Matt Rule had no Texas ties, came in, hired 3 Texas high school coaching legends, and immediately had success on the recruiting trail. Danielson could have success, but I think he's kind of a tier below these first 4 as far as Baylor is concerned. And then here's the 6th candidate, and it's a boring, quote-unquote boring name, but guys, let's not pretend like he's not a candidate. Jeff Traylor is absolutely still a candidate for this. Absolutely. My concern about Jeff Traylor is I think he'd really like the Texas job. I think he'd, more than Baylor, really like to be at Texas. Whereas I think Eric Morris, I think John Sumrall, who wouldn't be the head coach at Texas? Let me not sit here and pretend like Texas isn't a better job than Baylor. Let's just not even pretend, guys. But I think Morris and Sumrall, like Briles did in 2013, by the way, would take a Baylor job, and if Texas came knocking, I think that would be a tough decision because I think they value who Baylor is. I don't know that Jeff Traylor feels that way. I think Jeff Traylor would take the Baylor job because it's a huge step up. It's the opportunity to coach in the Big 12, keep all of your recruiting kind of connections, bring your staff. Obviously, former Texas high school football coach. For that reason, he's a cultural fit at Baylor. I do not know if Baylor is kind of an ideal job for him in his mind. I think he'd rather be at A&M or Texas or Tech, if Joey were to leave. Not that I think Joey's ever leaving. If one of those jobs were to open up. So, here's the thing. Baylor's head coach largely depends on who the AD is. But do I think it will be one of these 6 guys? Here's what I'll tell you. I think there's an 85% chance it's one of these 6 guys. There's 2 of these guys that I think that might be 50%. It's just one of these 2 guys. You can probably imply which 2 I'm thinking of based on how I talked about them. But here's what I want you to look at, Baylor fans. If it's one of these 6 guys, even if it's GJ Kitty, even if it's Jeff Traylor, aren't you kind of happy about the direction? Here's what you get immediately with any of these 6. You get better offensive football. You get proven winners to different degrees, sure, but proven winners. And at least with 5 of these guys, you get Texas guys that are made to coach football in Texas and probably made to succeed at Baylor. So that, took a little longer than I intended this morning, but I just wanted to give you all the info I'm receiving. We will have further conversations on Please Bear With Me Sunday night. We will update you if we have new news. We might discuss some of these things. The most important thing for Baylor right now is to hire an AD quickly. And again, going back about 15 minutes, I think Baylor will. I think Baylor is. I think there's already a candidate A in place. And I think there are multiple options for kind of candidate B if candidate A does not take the job. Those candidates include internal and external candidates. You can probably guess a lot of the names. There are a couple that would surprise you. Here's the last thing I'll say, whether we're talking about AD or head coach. Former players want to be involved. I have been told as many as 4 names of former players, big-time former players too, who want to be involved, whether that is giving money towards this next AD or head coach or taking a role in the next athletic department kind of build out administration. That role could be general manager of the football program. Think Andrew Luck. That role could be less than that. I think there's one player who I've heard would like to be the AD. Don't know that would happen, but that is what I've heard. I think there's a lot in this era of NIL and influence. There's a lot of former players that would really like to get involved, and I think that's also good for Baylor. I think Baylor should leverage that in a way that's wise. Here's the tweet from RG3. I so desperately want to see this type of joy back in the stands for my Baylor Bears and a product on the field that makes them proud. Just know RG3 is not the only big name former player who is going to have a voice here, a voice at minimum, in what happens next. And I think Baylor, again, doesn't mean you should just go on a hiring spree and hire every former player that wants to be in the building. That could get toxic or ugly quick, depending on who you hire and how the dynamics work and how qualified they may or may not be. Not here to comment on who might be good or not good at those roles. But leveraging the influence, the power, the money, and the thoughts of the former players, I think would be very, very, very wise for Baylor. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have Pete Sousa's conversation with former Michigan quarterback Devin Gardner. It's the Pete Sousa Show on a Friday.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
What if you could clean clean? with bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
Welcome to Kit Bag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kit Bag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kit Bag.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite. At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusanes.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your tastes. Mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Welcome to Market XLS, your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
Everybody at Ecolife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SOUSA to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SOUSA. That's SOUSA. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. You know I'm trying to help you make some money on Underdog, right? Like, that's what we're all here for. Like, I mean, crypto's down, stock market's down. Kind of a rough time as we go into the holidays. Maybe you need to, like, I don't know, buy your daughter a dope Christmas gift. Underdog. Just kidding. Don't do that. Just don't. But that was horrible, right? Underdog, man. We really do love it. We love playing underdog. I play like multiple times a week. You know that by now. Here are my picks for college football weekend. Going all Big 12 quarterbacks here. Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover, higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. That just hits like all the time. Sawyer's like 5 weeks in a row. Even when Baylor stinks, he throws multiple touchdowns. And then Barry Bachmeier, big game for BYU. Got to prove something against Cincinnati. You know, you can't really afford to lose another one if you're the Cougars. You want to get into that Big 12 title game and try to one-up Texas Tech. He's going to have higher than 52.5 rushing yards. That's going to help them beat Cincinnati this weekend. If you would like to play underdog with us, use that promo code Sousa, S-O-U-S-A. They'll give you, I just realized his name ends in USA. There's got to be a July 4th promotion we could do for this next year. You can use that promo code, get $50 bonus cash with your first $5 deposit. We would love for you to support us by playing underdog. That's going to be it for me today. I'm going to throw it to Pete. He's got Michigan quarterback Devin Gardner. This is from Inside the 12, another show that Pete hosts every week covering Big 12 football. And then we're going to call it a day. I hope you have a terrific weekend. And if you want to hear more Baylor football talk, you can join us on the Matt Mosley Show today at 1 p.m. on YouTube, or join Please Bear With Me with myself and Terrence Ganaway Sunday night at 5 o'clock. Let's have a great weekend. If you want to catch Pete this weekend, he is calling USF at UAB for ESPN+. Go catch Pete on that call. I will talk to you very soon. My name is Scotty Swingler, and I'll throw it to Pete Sousa. Hope you have a fantastic weekend.
Welcome back to Inside the 12, and it's time to welcome our esteemed guest. He's going to be on the call this weekend for TCU at number 23, Houston. Game's going to be 4 Eastern time on Fox. Former Michigan quarterback and Fox Sports college football analyst Devin Gardner joining us. Devin, man, what's up? That's a good setup that you got there. Looking good.
Yeah, I built it myself. You know, I bought the things. I drilled the holes. A lot of man hours building this background.
On and off the field, a crafty individual. I want to get into some of this Big 12 stuff with you, particularly Texas Tech. College football playoffs rankings are out. Texas Tech at 5. You know, what does BYU or Utah have to do to create a real good argument to be in the top 10, ultimately to earn a bid to the college football playoff?
I think BYU has to just continue playing really good football, and it starts with the quarterback, Barry Bachmeier. I've been really impressed with him, and he's had spells throughout the season where, he kind of looks like a freshman, but it's not been excessive, in my opinion. And this last game, I actually just talked to the TCU coaching staff. They said he was otherworldly, like on another level, not like just the stats and what you saw on film. It's like they said they couldn't deal with him. It was almost like LeBron Game 6. And if he can continue to play like that, that's their path. For Utah, they play good defense. They run the football. What will they get from Devin Dampier, who I really like a lot, but I think he has to take another step as a pure passer. But can he throw them into wins? That's the question I think the committee will be asking. But Bear Bachmeier, if he continues to play like that, I think BYU has a very clear path.
Of course, you bring up Bear Bachmeier. The last electric quarterback I remember to wear 2 digits was the guy we're talking to.
With this number, it's so weird. Who wears this kind of number playing quarterback? I don't get it.
Only the great ones, Devin. All right, the Big 12 championship. Which team do you think has the greatest threat to, let's say, maybe upset or beat Texas Tech?
Oh, it's got to be BYU. They played, quite frankly, their worst game of the season from top to bottom when they played against Texas Tech. And was that because Texas Tech is so good? I think part of it was, but I think they can play better. And then the most difficult thing to do is beat a team twice and to beat a good team twice. So Texas Tech, obviously, outstanding in every way. However, they will have a really big test if it's BYU that they have to see again in the Big 12 championship.
You've seen Texas Tech this year. What stood out to you as unique about this team? Because they do feel like now they're just punching into a different weight class.
Oh, yeah, they're exactly who you think they are, unless you don't have a brain, because you think they're the old Texas Tech. They are not that. They play great defense, and especially up front. Romello Height and David Bailey, their get-off. Sometimes I sit and I'm calling the game, and I get distracted because I just want to see how fast they get off the ball. I mean, it's like getting shot out of a rocket. And their ability to stop the run, obviously, not Malcolm Rodriguez, Jacob Rodriguez, they are top to bottom a very, very complete team. The only thing that really scares me about Texas Tech is the health of the quarterback. If the quarterback is healthy, they have a direct path to the championship. They know how they want to play. They know exactly who they are. They can throw the ball like they always have, but they can also run the football. Their offensive line is intact. The only thing that scares me is, can the quarterback stay healthy? Guess what? He got healthy last week. He was out before the second half, and he also has a bye week. I think he's going to be healthy, and they'll have a real shot.
Back to that Texas Tech defense. The eye of the storm is Jacob Rodriguez, like you mentioned. Joey McGuire and a lot of folks now nationally pushing for him to be a Heisman candidate and be there at that ceremony, yourself included, in New York. I think you answered the question. Do you think he should be there in New York for that ceremony?
Absolutely. His story is incredible. And a lot of times it's not just about stats. It's about who you are and what you mean to college football. He's the perfect story. He came into college football as a quarterback, and you don't see the switch from quarterback to linebacker very often. And he's done it seamlessly. Ended up at Texas Tech, and he's been a catalyst for what they've been able to become. His ability to be a leader on the defensive side of the ball, and not only just on the defensive side of the ball, as a teammate. And then you get to the other stuff. Leading the country in forced fumbles, all around the ball. In the game, he had a few Heisman moments in the game I just had where he scores the touchdown and then the interception. Right when I'm talking about how great his instincts are, he baits the quarterback and throwing a screen right into his hands. And then it's not an easy catch. It's an amazing catch, and 9 tackles to boot. I just think that what he's been able to do and what Texas Tech has become, which is one of the best teams in all of college football, I think it will be criminal if he's not invited there.
And his wife flies Black Hawk helicopters for the U.S. Army.
What more do you want?
You can't write.
What more do you want?
All right, let's get to your game this weekend. Houston and TCU. Houston's dream season, really. It's been better than anybody could have expected. How has Willie Fritz turned this program around in just 2 seasons?
Listen, I'm essentially going to foreshadow what my open is going to be for the game. Nobody expected anything from Houston. But when you have a quarterback, you have a chance, period. That's where it stops. And this quarterback, Connor Wegman, who I coached at the Elite 11, never saw him being the rusher that he's become. He is one of 5 players in all of college football to have at least 2,100 passing yards, at least 400 rushing yards, to go along with at least 27 touchdowns. That's rare air, right? There's only 5 guys in all college football that's doing it, and he's able to do it. And it's so weird because he's not this big, giant guy. However, he's remained healthy. And when you get to the end of seasons in college football and even NFL football, the more healthy teams are the ones that perform well. And so it starts with the quarterback. Obviously, there are other pieces and different things like that, and Willie Fritz is doing a great job. But you start here. If you have a quarterback, you have a chance, and they've got one.
What about him as a quarterback has allowed him to figure out running the football and becoming a dual threat? I mean, you played quarterback. You could run the football. What is that part of the maturation process, or was it something he worked to do, you think?
So when he was at the Elite 11, he could throw, obviously. He wouldn't be there if he couldn't. But the one thing I was super impressed was his attitude, his competitive fire, his competitive juice. And sometimes that's all you need to be an adequate runner. For me, I don't think he's able to go line up at wide receiver and be super dynamic, right? I don't think he's that type of athlete. But however, when you have an attitude that I'm going to get it done, right, it's hard to stop you. And when I was talking to the TCU coaching staff, they said that he's very similar to Max Duggan, where Max Duggan, I mean, he's a good athlete. He's not the greatest athlete in the world, but it's his attitude and his willingness and his desire, his determination to get it done, no matter how you got to get it done. And I think that's a lot of what Connor Wegman has.
Last question for you. You mentioned talking to the TCU coaches. How do they get things back on track this week?
Yeah. I think that they have to get back to the way they play football. They've been riddled with injuries, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And I think it's really affected the entire team, right? Because their quarterback, Josh Hoover, can make all the throws. He's even added the dimension of running the football this year. But without number 2, Kavorian Barnes, they have really started to try to find a way to replace that production. And for Josh Hoover, it forces him to start to press, right? And do more than what he's asked to do, which sometimes gets you in trouble when you're the quarterback. So the idea for them is to get back to everybody just do their job, and specifically Josh Hoover. You can't do it all for everybody. You do your job, and you have to trust that everybody else is going to do it, and they have to make up the slack.
Devin Gardner, you have always been able to do your job awfully well on the field and in the broadcast booth, and now sharing time with us. really appreciate you, man, just sharing some of your thoughts about the Big 12 with us, and have a great call.
I appreciate you, man, and I can't wait to see you on the call.
All right, take care. That was Devin Gardner.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.